this whole meal that I've developed in my mind, in my emotions. And so sure enough, the meal comes, and I began to dig into it. And it doesn't taste like Enrique's. And I began to get this emotion of being a little angry, disappointment. And so, and I just began to say, well, okay, Louis, just relax. Just relax. By the way, my name is Louis. I don't know if I mentioned to you, but my name is Louis Almeida, and I'm the leader of this group. Yeah. And I began to just relax a moment and just say, no, just go with it. But I acknowledge my emotions. Angry, I'm angry. I'm upset. I'm in pain. And I just mentally rehearse that, and if I have pen and paper, I might write it down. And this is another thing, is the importance of journaling. I found that I have this folder, a notebook, and I started this notebook in, say, November of 2009, and here it's already March. March 4th, 2010. And so I'm almost completed. And thank God I do this, because it's a practice. It's a way that you, in a sense, I don't want you to analyze, but I would just want you to observe, as Gurdjieff would say, and write these things down, because when you write these things down, the emotions don't have so much control over you. So as I was thinking about, as I was writing these feelings down and these thoughts down, I began to say, collect myself to calm myself down. And even though it wasn't exactly like, the meal wasn't exactly like Enrique's, Peter's meal was good. It was good. And so I was able to enjoy it. If I hadn't write down my feelings, fear, anger, and probably hatred was there too. Disappointment. If I hadn't written those down, I would say that the emotions, the anger would have been overwhelming and overtaken me. And consequently, I would not have even enjoyed the meal that Peter provided. Again, self-observation is one of the keys of developing this inner eye, the eye of the self. And this is what we want to do. The eye of the self is the direction we want to come to. One of the key elements of Gurdjieff's ideas was the necessity of a group. If you pick up In Search of the Miraculous, and you can find this book on Amazon.com, probably for a used book is probably $4 or $5, even $1, I think. And I think the mailing costs about $3, $3.50. So you got a book, a profound book for about $5 or $6. Even if you pick it up, you might find it very interesting. And there's a lot of you that picked up this book who have read it and thought, this is really amazing. And I remember reading this one book that I read several times. It's a health book, a nutritional book. And I can't even think of it now. But I remember I was, in this book I found the author of this nutritional book was talking about the different eyes, the different desires. And I thought, oh my God, he's read In Search of the Miraculous. And so I found that few individuals have read this book. But I would say reading the book will not get you to become a master of yourself. To become a master of yourself, you have to be involved in a work group. And one of the key things that Gurdjieff mentioned is that the individual who is the leader of the group must know the way. And I would say it's taken me 40 years to really understand not only Spinoza but Gurdjieff, and I reread Gurdjieff, and it's interesting. I was mentioning this to one of my students, that man, we are just like an onion, and you've heard this phrase before, this idea that an onion is comprised of, hundreds of layers or thousands of layers, and you just peel the outer skin off. Now, each time you peel a skin, you're becoming more aware. I would say when I first heard of Gurdjieff in Certain Miraculous 40 years ago, I was able to listen and be profoundly affected. But after all these layers have been removed from my nature, I can hear and I can listen and I can see and I can take in much more. And that's what happens. That's what happens in the process of a group. By yourself, the buffers, and this is another thing Gurdjieff talks about, is buffers. Buffers are we resist anything from coming in. We stop the truth from coming in. Many people say, I don't need a group. I don't want a group. Well, what a group does, and I'm not sure what your thoughts of a group, but what a group does, basically, is to help one another. And there has to be, like I said, a teacher that knows the way, the direction, and meaning that he has, in a sense, should be awakened, have a certain degree of being awakened, and the students have a desire to be awakened. And when you have one or two individuals who are awake, they help each other. And so this is what we do. We help each other. And I, being the leader of this group, I have, of course, more knowledge. I know not only the terms, but I can explain the terms and and the meaning of them and how we can utilize these ideas and these terms and these words to make them real in our nature. The group, I would say that another thing that Gurdjieff would say, that we lie to ourselves. And this is true. For instance, when I first mentioned that, the individual who, on one hand, wants the hamburger, that's one eye, but also wants the gym, wants to go to the health club. And that's another desire. However, for instance, when the individual says, I want to go to the gym tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m., I'm going to start this program because, summer's coming in about, where are we, March, April, May, June, 4 months, or 3 or 4 months. Summer's going to be here, bikini time, beach time, beautiful body time. And I used to be, imagine yourself, you know how you used to be, buff or beautiful, curvaceous, you had beautiful curves. And that's how we were. But now you've got, 30, 40 pounds overweight. Now you have this eye that you've talked about yourself, this eye. It's not a very powerful eye. You want to start working out. Okay, you tell yourself, I'm going to work out in the morning. I'm going to get up at 6:30. My job starts at 8:30, so I should have enough time. Go to the gym, work out. I sign up for it. I signed up. I go to Bally's Gym. I signed up for the year. And the morning comes. It's 6 o'clock. The alarm goes off. And what happens? The eye that wanted to get out of bed, go to the gym, is a weak eye. And the other eye, which is more powerful now, is dominating the state of that person or myself in that moment. Hey, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to stay in bed for another half hour, another hour. I don't have to go out anywhere. So there you are. Our intentions, there's a saying, the road to intentions leads to what? It leads to hell, in a sense. Because we don't really know or don't really understand the process of, say, self-examination, self-improvement. We cannot do this ourselves. I tried it myself for many, many years with frustration. And when I found my teacher, and at that time, he didn't want to work with anybody. We were in a small apartment in West Hollywood. In his apartment, there must have been at least 25 or 30 people. I don't know how we sat down, but we were able to fit in his small apartment. But he had this attitude, I don't want to work with anybody unless they really had a want to. Not a should, but I want to learn. And at first, he was really interested in me because he thought that I had no chance. because I came from